Hello everyone and welcome back to Toes Beatles channel. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining me for this video and I hope you're all doing well. Now in recent years we've been spoilt. We've had an embarrassment of riches as far as Beatles books are concerned. It kind of started with the Paul McCartney archive collection, the box sets that had sort of hardback books included, and then the Beatles anniversary box sets have all had hardback books. We've had things like this, a great big book just on the Imagine album. There was the book for the Get Back movie. We've had McCartney Legacy. We've had Luca Parese's book, Music is Ideas. And so, we've been spoiled really for books. And, just when, you thought that you'd seen everything there is as far as books, or you read everything there is, something like the McCartney Legacy comes out and you realise that there is still stuff to learn. And this week sees the release of Paul McCartney's book, 1964, Eyes of the Storm. And, this is a book that offers us something different again, because this is a book of Paul's personal photographs from the period of sort of late 1963 to early 1964, that little cusp of where the Beatles are on the cusp of Beatlemania, and it's just all about to explode. So a very important time in the Beatles' career, and it's great that we've got these photographs of Paul's personal photographs, so photographs we've never seen before, and probably photos that we never thought we would ever see. So it's great that we've got this brilliant new book from Paul with all these photos in. Now, how did this book come about? Well, in 2020, Paul was, digging out pictures at home, Linda's pictures, for an exhibition of her photographs, and he came across this stash of photographs that maybe he'd forgotten that he'd taken back in the 60s. There was about 1,000 of them, and around 300 of them are in this book. Now, the title of the book, Eyes of the Storm, I think is brilliant. It works brilliantly because obviously the Beatles, they're creating this storm, this self-generated storm, and rather than the eye of the storm, the eyes of the storm, it's a two-way thing. It's the Beatles looking out at what they're creating, and obviously photographers looking in at this mayhem that is beginning to happen with the Beatles' career. So I love the name Eyes of the Storm. That is the front cover. It comes with this sort of kind of obi strip thing that is removable if you want to. It's got one of these sort of resealable plastic stickers there. You can take it off if you want. I think it looks pretty good with it on. The back cover looks like that. The price on here is 60 quid. But if you want to buy this right now, you can go onto Amazon and you can pay £44 for it. It's not cheap, but there are 336 pages in this book. Now, there's not a huge amount of text because obviously the photographs really speak for themselves, and each photograph, or most of the photographs, has got a caption by Paul when he tells you what is going on. But there is some essays in this book. There's a foreword by Paul himself, which is about 6 pages long. There's a couple of pages by Nicholas Cullingham, who is the director of the National Portrait Gallery here in London, and he's written in this book because the National Portrait Gallery are hosting an exhibition of these actual photographs at the end of this month and through July, and I think through August as well. I'm going to the exhibition on the 1st of July, so I will be reporting for the channel on the exhibition when I get there, providing I'm allowed to film there. There's also quite a long essay called Beatleland by Jill Lepore, who is an American historian who works at Harvard University, and she is basically setting the scene, the landscape of this kind of period, both in England and in America. Obviously, when the Beatles, arrived in America in February 1964, it's sort of, it's less than 3 months since JFK had been shot, and they were coming and almost lifting a nation out of a state of mourning. It gave the youth something to hang on to build on, to come back from that tragic event. Now, the photographs take place in 6 cities: Liverpool, London, Paris, New York, Washington, DC, and Miami. Each city has got its own sort of chapter. There is a dedication in the book by Paul. He says, dedicated to my wife, but he doesn't stipulate which one. Well, it's not going to be the second one, is it? My wife, my children, their children, and my glorious family and friends, which is nice. So I'm not going to show you the essays. This is a photograph book, so we're going to go straight to the photos, and I'm not going to show you them all. But you kind of get, Paul does a sort of a 2-page introduction of each chapter, and sort of tells you a little bit about what's going on. But these photographs, they're all the photos that he's taken of the Beatles are all very candid shots, and some that you just wouldn't see taken by professional photographers, for publicity purposes and stuff like that. I mean, these two portraits are fantastic. I mean, George Harrison, what a beautiful man he was. A picture here of Brian Epstein, a man who was really troubled and tortured, but Paul's managed to catch him, happy and relaxed in that photo. A picture here of John, John being photographed with his glasses on, which, if it was a professional photographer, doing a publicity shot, he would whip his glasses off. He wouldn't be photographed with his glasses on at that time in those early days. But because this is a photo just for Paul's, personal collection, he's not bothered. Now, we get some really nice shots. There's pictures here of, it's nice that there's people in this photograph that have, were on the journey. So Cilla Black, picture of Cilla there. And, there are pictures of people that aren't part of his life anymore, or weren't part of his life for very long. But they have been remembered in this book. They feature in these photographs. This photo here, Big Mal Evans. I love calling him Big Mal Evans as if he's like a centre half for Sheffield Wednesday or something. And I want to move on. We're going to move on to London. So when the chapter changes, the new city gets highlighted in black like that. And I was talking about people that have fallen by the wayside. Picture there of Jane Asher, looking very beautiful indeed. Fantastic pictures. Paul says that when they were together, he often took portrait photographs of her, from this time when she was like an actress and not just someone that wrote books about baking cakes. Some more pictures of John and George. Fantastic stuff here. A nice picture here. So some of these pictures weren't taken by Paul, but were taken with his camera. So that's why he's he's got them in his collection. This is someone has taken the picture of the Beatles on stage there, and I believe that is taken at the Lewisham Odeon, which Paul also played at during the Wings 1979 Back to the Egg tour. Another picture of John in his glasses. and he doesn't care. Let's move on. I want to show you this fantastic photograph of John with Robert Freeman, the photographer Robert Freeman, who took a few of the Beatles album sleeve photographs. You know, Billy J. Kramer is in this. So people, you know, people that were supporting the Beatles at some of these gigs, he's taken pictures of as well from, you know, from the side of the stage. We've now moved on to Paris, and we've got John there in his leather cap, which I think he probably bought in Paris. Fantastic picture of Ringo there lighting a ciggy from the dog end of the previous ciggy that he was smoking, so kind of chain smoking, I suppose. Another fantastic picture. John looking very French there in Paris. And I want to kind of move on to New York now. Picture of John and a picture of Brian on the plane. You know, the New York landscape when they arrived, looking something like that. I mean, those photos are not quite so interesting as the actual photos that are to do that are of the band or people around the band. You know, because you know, scenery is scenery. It those photos could be taken by anyone, right? The crowd, the fans in Central Park there in New York, and I love this picture. This is the picture that is used on the front cover of the book, and you can tell from this picture exactly what is going on here. You know, Paul is looking out the back seat of the limo or whatever it is that he's in. You know, on the way to maybe, you know, recording the Ed Sullivan Show, rehearsing, and there are people chasing him. They're running in down the middle of the road, no fear for their lives whatsoever, and plus the roads are really sort of icy. You can see the snow is melting there as well. So, you know, picture that Paul's taken, you know, just looking behind him out the back window of the car, and really like this as well. Some publicity shots in Central Park from two angles. So you know, the photographer's taking this picture of you know, of the Beatles goofing around in Central Park, but obviously Paul is taking a photo of the photographers taking a photo of the Beatles. So you kind of get that same, you know, the thing from two different angles, which is really good. Paul there with Murray the K. This is great, sort of behind the scenes photo. You know, Ringo settling down. This is rehearsing for Ed Sullivan, and this photo here is also from the rehearsal. If you remember, George was ill and couldn't make the rehearsal, so someone stood in for George and put on a Beatles wig. Okay, we're moving on to Washington now, and you know, there's lots of snow. You know, Paul's taking pictures. He's seeing the White House and the Capitol building for the first time, and it's in the snow, very sort of atmospheric. We've got this, you know, the Washington Coliseum, you know, very famous gig there with a sold out sign there, and now we're going to move on to Miami, that, you know, where they're doing the second Ed Sullivan show, and they're having a much more relaxing time. This is quite a poignant picture, so that you know, Paul's taken that out of the window of the car that they're traveling in. They've obviously got a police escort, and you know, he's seeing a gun in a holster and 6 bullets there at the side. You know, this is the lad from Liverpool would never have seen a cop with a gun up to this point. So I just want to get to the sort of colour photos, more rehearsing there. Another great picture of Ringo. And a superb picture of George by the pool, having a drink, having a ciggy, you know, splashing about in the water. John and Cynthia there. Some really great photos. So, you know, I'm not going to show everything. I'll just show this one here. George Martin relaxing there with the lady who would soon become his wife, Judy Lockhart Smith. So I'm not going to show you any more photos. You kind of get the picture. I really love this book. It gives us something different. You know, we get sort of, you know, photos that we've never seen before, taken by Paul of, you know, this storm that they are creating. So, you know, this book gets a big thumbs up from me. Really like the book. Definitely recommend it. If you're thinking about getting this, or you've got it already and you've got some thoughts that you want to share, please do so down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. That's pretty much it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's given you a good flavour of what is in the book, and I will see you all very soon. Bye bye.